Everyday me, everyday God. Or I should maybe say every night me, every night God. It's a little past 8 for me right now. And I'm Vanessa. And I'm grateful that Elaine asked me if I wanted to record one of these again, because it's fun thinking about what has captured my imagination, or how has God gotten my attention lately in my everyday life. And what immediately comes to mind is this passage I've been meditating on this summer. I heard it one morning during morning prayer. It was the gospel reading for the day, Luke 12:32-40. And it was one of those times, you've probably had this, where you just feel like you've never heard that before. Even though I've heard a lot of the Bible and I've read a lot of the Bible, some of these phrases and ideas in here, I was just hanging on every word because it was so unexpected. There's some phrase in the Bible, I feel like it's Paul, who says sometimes, like, this is a trustworthy saying. And I felt like that. Like my insides were kind of like, whoa, this is a trustworthy saying that deserves my attention. So I've just kind of been rehearsing it and trying to learn from it, and thought I would share a few things that have stood out to me about it, in case it sparks your imagination too. It starts, "Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms." Sell your possessions and give alms. Right away, I thought, right. I have thought lately about the idea of investing. Like, what am I investing my time and my attention and my energy and my wealth and my love into? Am I investing it in God, in relating with God, in the things that God is doing in the world around me? But I think I've taken for granted lately the flip side of that coin, which is divesting. That's what I hear when I hear sell your possessions and give alms. I hear divest and invest. Both are needed. There's a need to resist, not just invest. There's a need to get free from and get rid of and make space for. And that's something I haven't spent as much time thinking about lately. Of course, there's the literal interpretation of that. Like, oh yeah, Jesus says earlier in Luke, beware, life does not consist in the abundance of one's possessions. And maybe that's what he's referring to here as well, to beware how easy it was for them and for us to think that the more we have, the freer we will get, when that is not true. Sell your possessions. I've also been thinking about white privilege lately, because I'm in a anti-racist book group. And the author quotes someone who gives such a great metaphor for white privilege. She said it's like an invisible knapsack that some people get, and it has blank checks in it, and it has compasses and emergency gear and maps and directions and clothes. It has all these resources in it, and the point of it is to keep the wearer of the knapsack oblivious to it. And so when I hear sell your possessions, I think, what does it mean to intentionally divest of my privilege in situations when I can? And to do that work, what does it mean to redistribute some of those privileges I have, some of those possessions I have that I did not earn more than anybody else, but that I find I've been given and that I secure for myself? Sell your possessions and give alms. So I've also been thinking, what does it mean to give alms nowadays? I looked up what it meant in the ancient Near Eastern context, and it was different than our idea of charity, than handing out money or giving money to an organization. It was more about collapsing the distance between the social elite and the poor, or the marginalized, or the different, or the other. So it was less about something impersonal and more about social solidarity. So when I've been thinking about giving alms, both divesting of privilege and possessions and investing in the poor, in the different, in the other, it's made me wonder, what does it look like to identify with other people more? to not set myself apart or stay apart or withdraw. And so it reminds me of Mother Teresa's quote, it might become fashionable to talk about the poor, but unfortunately it will never be fashionable to talk with the poor. Yeah, there's a lot there. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out. Have you ever heard that before in the Bible? Jesus says it. And I'm like, what does that mean? So of course I'm thinking purses. That just reminded me so much of Elaine to say, I'm thinking. That's an Elaineism that I've adopted. Purses are these things, apparently they had them too, that contain our little bundle of resources, our little wallets that carry within them our access to what we think we need, to food, to directions, to identification. We have our phones in our bags. I also pack water and snacks and makeup and toenail clippers, anything that just might help the day become a little bit more comfortable. So to hear Jesus say, make purses for yourselves, like for me, a backpack, make a backpack for yourself, or stock a backpack for yourself, or focus on a backpack that will not wear out or run out or get stolen or get destroyed or that you might lose. That's really interesting. And it, of course, makes me think of just my daily practices of silence and prayer and letting the Bible speak to me in these ways. There's even more there, but just to move on a little bit and pique your interest in the next fascinating line. Well, it goes on. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Be dressed for action. Be dressed for action. My first thought was athleisure wear. Like, should I actually consider dressing for practical purposes instead of for like aesthetic or creative purposes? Does that actually help people be more responsive to things that happen in the world and to their neighbors? And I don't know. I don't think it does, but maybe in a real practical way this summer, it caused me to wear my bathing suit more often so that when my 7-year-old jumps in the lake or in the ocean and wants me to come, I'm ready. I'm ready to not miss out on that opportunity, which here in Victoria comes only mainly in the summers. And to not let my self-consciousness over in what ways my body does or does not fit the cultural beauty standards that we're fed and that are very messed up. So that actually did help me this summer to be dressed for action, to be poised and ready to engage, to jump in, and not to miss out on things that are not really real. Things like that's another topic. Be dressed for action and have your lamps lit. There's a lot more there. There's another great story after that, but I feel like that's probably enough to maybe pique your interest in this passage, or just be thinking about what do some of those things mean for you. It's great to be here. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.